Get your favorite health tips right here on U24. Maintain your kidney by drinking 8 to 10 glasses of water each day. This can be in form of soup, tea, water, cooked grains, and boiled vegetables.
Hello, my name is Erica Murunchi and welcome to Be Inspired by Erica. So today I want to talk about personal hygiene. Personal hygiene is not just a habit, it is a way of life. By maintaining personal hygiene, you will reduce stress, improve on your focus, show respect for yourself and others around you, to the people around you. Take care of your space and your life. Keep your room tidy, wash your hands, cut your fingernails, comb your hair, brush your teeth, and many others. Take care of your space and your life. Brush your teeth, make your bed, bathe, cut your fingernails, comb your hair, and many others. Make cleanliness a habit. Personal hygiene should be a priority. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Stay blessed. Much love. Thanks for watching.
Hi, my name is Doreen Tuhidire, coming to you from Be Money Wiser, and we're going to be bringing to you the hashtag 100 Ways to Be Money Wiser by Mrs. T. Tilda Nabandra. We're going to be running this hashtag 100 Ways to Be Money Wiser on U24 television. Don't miss out.
U24. Don't miss on U24.
Entrepreneurs Hub, giving you a deep and unique insights into agribusiness, services, ICT and innovation, industrialization and so much more. Entrepreneurs Hub, growing your small, medium and large business entity. With yours truly, Sandra Kahunde.
Get your favorite health tips right here on U24. Maintain your kidney by drinking 8 to 10 glasses of water each day. This can be in form of soup, tea, water, cooked grains, and boiled vegetables.
Hello, my name is Erica Murunchi and welcome to Be Inspired by Erica. So today I want to talk about personal hygiene. Personal hygiene is not just a habit, it is a way of life. By maintaining personal hygiene, you will reduce stress, improve on your focus, show respect for yourself and others around you, to the people around you. Take care of your space and your life. Keep your room tidy. Wash your hands, cut your fingernails, comb your hair, brush your teeth, and many others. Take care of your space and your life. Brush your teeth, make your bed, bathe, cut your fingernails, comb your hair, and many others. Make cleanliness a habit. Personal hygiene should be a priority. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Stay blessed. Much love. Thanks for watching.
Hi, my name is Doreen Tuhidire, coming to you from Be Money Wiser, and we're going to be bringing to you the hashtag 100 Ways to Be Money Wiser by Mrs. T. Tilda Nabandra. We're going to be running this hashtag 100 Ways to Be Money Wiser on U24 television. Don't miss out.
U24. Don't miss on U24.
Entrepreneurs Hub, giving you a deep and unique insight into agribusiness, services, ICT, and innovation, industrialization, and so much more. Entrepreneurs Hub, growing your small, medium, and large business entity. With yours truly, Sandra Kahunde.
Youth of Purpose. Youth of Purpose.
In Uganda and globally, young people continue to be agents of transformation, politically, socially, and all you can mention it, through technology, through tourism, through empowerment, and the different aspects. But also, youth bring fresh perspectives into what needs to be done and what contribution they can make. Youth continue to influence policies, but also continue to be advocates to create awareness and also be able to participate in sustainability. Today we discuss what is the role of youth as ambassadors of transformation and sustainability in Uganda particularly. And of course, this is Youth of Purpose. It is me, Trassyleen Ankunda, hosting this episode. And I am not alone. I do have a team of one lady and two gentlemen who have joined us tonight. And briefly, I do have with me Hafashimana Asiimwe, who is the District Youth Chairperson of Kisoro District. I do have with me Nancy Caroline Ayot, who is a lawyer, a feminist, but also a writer. I equally do have with me Micheal Mpunge, who is the youth councillor all the way from Entebbe Municipality, next to the airport. Let me start with you. Say hello to our listeners, to our viewers, and tell us who you are.
Right, thank you, Trassyleen. Hello to our viewers. I'm really excited and happy to be here. My name is Mpunge Micheal, as I've been introduced. I'm a councillor representing young people at Entebbe Municipal Council. It is a pleasure to be with you and together with the panel here to discuss. And mostly it is the program of Youth of Purpose. And I believe all here we are Youth of Purpose, and indeed it is only the Youth of Purpose who can drive transformation.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Micheal. And I think you're welcome because it's the first time we are having you on our show. We look forward to having you many more times. Nancy, say hello to our listeners, to our viewers.
Well, thank you very much, Trassyleen, and our viewers for tuning into the show of Youth of Purpose. My name is Nancy Caroline Ayot, and I honestly do not have much to say after Micheal. After Micheal has elaborately introduced himself and he has said everything that I want to say, but I'm happy to be here. Thank you for hosting us.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for accepting our invitation. Next to Nancy is Hafashimana. Hafashimana, say hello to our viewers.
Thank you, Comrade Ankunda. To our viewers, those who have the eyes that are watching us, my name is Hafashimana Asiimwe, and I am the Able Youth Chairperson for Kisoro District. Yeah.
Able Youth Chairperson. That sounds heavy, and I know most of us young people use those positions to scare some of us, but this is not the case for today. He is actually an able chairperson. Talking about youth as ambassadors of transformation, as ambassadors of change, as ambassadors of sustainability. Sustainability could mean different things to different people, but one thing for sure is there must be continuation in it. The same as transformation. Different people understand transformation differently, but also simply it is that you are able to move from one step to another step. And I'll start it off with you, Hafashimana. In your understanding, in your perspective, what does transformation mean to you and sustainability, and particularly with a young people's view and voice?
Thank you, our dear moderator, for this very program. I will begin with a historical perspective. On record, for those of you who are watching me for the first time, professionally, I am a teacher. I'm a teacher of economics and history, trained from the mighty Chambogo University. And I will begin with a historical narration by giving a historical perspective that President Museveni, the head of the state, the fountain of honor, who is now a general retired, but the head of the state, by the time he was at the University of Dar es Salaam, in his late 1960s, he was a student leader. And I think for people that have watched him severally on his speeches, State of the Nation addresses, he brings examples whereby he was a student leader even at his high school in Italy. But beyond that, we have had definitely local examples from our country, Uganda, including the current Nobati Mao, not for political reasons, but is an example of leaders who joined youth at their youthful days, especially when he was the guild president at the University of Makerere. But also the current Secretary General of the National Resistance Movement, the Right Honorable Tadongo, was a student leader. I think he must have been a speaker in the Makerere Guild. And I will not fail to give definitely our local examples around the East African communities. And you're aware that East Africa is bona fide by the 3 member states, where Uganda is a member, or was in the beginning, Kenya and Tanzania. And when you go to Tanzania, leaders like Kambarage, Julius Nyerere, these joined, national leadership after they had been youth leaders. And if you can recall the Ujamaa policy that was in Tanzania in the early 60s, this was a policy that Nyerere himself championed, and he was a youth. The idea was geared when he was a youth leader. The activists that we see across the globe, they have been able to, steer, but also ideate good policies that are now providing the justice that you see prevailing today. You could recall that Paul Kagame, His Excellence of Rwanda, by the time he was in exile, in this case in Uganda, he joined active political youth groups. And I think that's why by early 2000, he emerged as the president of Rwanda through the Rwanda Patriotic Front. And today, when you look at the technology, the investments, the aircraft and all that in Rwanda, all the socio-economic transformation is behind all those kind of, social changes. But also, when you go to South Africa, I have always given a perspective of the Nelson Mandela, who in his youthful ages, you are aware that he fought tirelessly to end apartheid policy by the support of other then able leaders, including Desmond Tutu, who was a bishop at the time, when they were trying to reconcile the white man with the black man, when they were trying to encourage, conciliation, peace and unity. And I think you cannot talk about transformation or when you do not talk about things to do with reconciling parties.
Interesting.
And when you look at, I want to conclude on that, I don't want to leave it haphazardly. When you conclude about that, you shall also realize that young leaders like, the then president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, also did a number of political changes, but also socio-economic. If you remember the Akosombo Dam in Ghana, it is one of the fundamental changes that Kwame Nkrumah spearheaded or put in place by the time he was a youth leader or even when he became a president. I think historically, those are the things that I think we could look at socially, politically, but also in the current technological era.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much, Hafashimana, for that amazing preamble. Let me get to you, Nancy. Talking about young people in Uganda, but also globally, as the majority, as agents of transformation, as agents of change, are we agents of change, or are we crying to be agents of change?
Well, thank you very much, Trassyleen, but on that matter, I don't think we have much of a choice to begin with. I know that the world has been skewed in a very different way right now. For example, all over the world, there is an issue in different parts of the world of declining birth rates in Southeast Asia, but also in Europe and North America. And they're talking about lacking a youth population that can sustain development, but also the continuation of their different states. However, in Africa, we sort of have the reverse. We have a booming youth population, and in Uganda it stands at 78%, according to our most recent national housing census. So, are the youth acting as agents of change? I believe that yes, they are acting. Only that our times are much, much different than the times before. Right now, we have a fast-paced changes that are being led by technology, but also we have climate change as an issue that was caused not by us, obviously, but by people that came before us. However, this is now our problem to solve. And thirdly, we also have the fact that we are at a late stage capitalism era where, for example, unemployment is a lot. There is not much money in people's pockets, and the divide between the poor and the rich is very wide. So if you ask me whether or not young people are leading the change, I believe that they are. They are, only that they're doing it in a way that is not normative at all, because this time it requires solutions that need to be fast-paced, and these fast-paced solutions are also changing because the digital world is spinning out of control. Even right now as we speak, something has changed on the internet. There is a new trend that is coming. There are new ideas that are coming. So these are things that are difficult to contend with also the fact that the youth do not have the money. The marginalization is still there. So what I believe is consistent is the fact that inequalities exist. As these changes continue, we know that there are also things that are reoccurring. For example, there is a big decline on human rights right now and democracy worldwide. That even one of the first world countries is crying that they have a crisis of human rights and democracy. And we also have a lot of conflicts that are brewing. And for us African youth, we have to contend with the fact that majority of the conflicts are right now in Africa. And it comes with different other problems that occur. And the youth are center stage in all of these things. They can act as they can be promoters of peace, they can be promoters of development. However, I believe that we still have a long way in terms of organizing. So I believe there is something being done, however we can put in more effort.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Nancy, for that. And reminding us of the different roles, even including areas around peace and security, negotiation and reconciliation, among others. Let me get to you, Micheal. As a youth councillor, you do represent quite a number of young people within the municipal level. First of all, if you could let us know maybe when you have been elected in, is it a year ago or you're just a fresh perspective?
I am completing the term.
You're completing the term.
Yes.
Very well, thank you then. So as a youth councillor who has been there for quite 5 years, how is it in terms of youth representation, but also empowerment for them to be able to drive sustainability and transformation?
Right. Thank you so much, Trassyleen. Moving and helping the young people to be empowered so that they can drive transformation goes beyond just the politics. It goes to the young people themselves, and also seeing that they are empowered in all aspects. I know many people try to think that the transformation is going to be only in the governance, but personally I prefer to look at also other sectors of business. Let us look at commerce, let us look at technology and others. Therefore, personally, what I feel, the best way we can empower our young people to see that they drive transformation, because transformation is not an event, it is a process. And for the young people to be able to drive that transformation, they should be empowered. Therefore, we start with having the young people empowered in all aspects. That is, having the right qualification, having the right knowledge, and having all that it takes. Because when the young people are empowered with knowledge and understanding, therefore they can be able to execute certain things. For example, if we have, Nancy here is a lawyer, I am an administrator, you are a lawyer, and Hafashimana as well is a teacher, told us. So when we have young people in the different professions doing something, they are equipped with the knowledge and they can influence. Because I want us to move from the representation of young people, which is just sitting at the table, but doing something that is going to be impactful when we are at that table. And as young people, we can only be impactful only if we can bring something on the table. Can we influence policy? There is no way you're going to influence policy if you are not knowledgeable of that particular policy. Let's say we are talking about climate change and we are looking for solutions to the climate change. If you are not well acquainted with issues of climate change, if you are not well acquainted with the knowledge, the vast and the solutions that come up with it, you cannot influence anything. You will have a seat at the table, but you will just be there to make a number. So therefore, we need to start with empowering our young people and encouraging them to see that they are in these various different professions, they have this knowledge, and thereafter they are going to be able to influence whatever we are going to be doing at whatever table we are going to be seated at.
Talking about influencing, Micheal.
Yes.
We have so many young people in certain positions, National Youth Council, we have councillors in council and all that.
Yes.
Are we at a point where we say it is the numbers, or are we at a point where it is the young people's views? And talking about the table, are we actually at the table, or does it look like we are close to the table?
I believe that we are at the table, because Hafashimana here will tell you that he's a chairman from Kisoro, chairman of the whole district.
Can he influence a policy?
There are other people who are also, I'm a councillor for the young people. We have the structures. So truthfully, we are at the table. Some people argue that maybe we are not having the numbers at the table, but the truth is we are at the table. But my question is, what are we doing at the table? Because we are basically on the table if we can only be effective and impactful on that table if we have the knowledge. That is what I talked about in the first instance. Therefore, yes, we are at the table, but being impactful on this table goes back to us. Okay? And then it also goes back to we as leaders. Can we empower these young people to see that in all aspects, not just governance, that in politics we are in the structures and all that, but in others, in technology, in commerce and all others, have we acquainted ourselves with the knowledge that we need? Do we have something that we can present as a policy? I usually engage Nancy on policy because she's a lawyer, but are we able to have all this grasped in that we can come up with a policy that the young people have come, not to demand for something, but they are coming with a policy and they're saying, hey, look here, Mr. Government, we are drafting this policy, it is for us, and we want to have it do this and this and this. Therefore, that starts with the empowerment. And also, we as leaders, the second fold of it is that we need to see that we are fighting for this empowerment of these young people in all aspects that we are doing. The few structures we are having today, can we try to see that they are impactful and their resolutions are really binding? Not just having, let's say, I want to use the example of a youth council. I've always argued that where do the youth councils take their resolutions? And who follows up on those resolutions? And who actually acts? Can a cow in a certain district call the youth chairperson and the entire committee and tell them, okay, what have you resolved on? Can we work on it? Because there is no legal framework that says that, but they are going to have their meetings quarterly and they are going to come up with beautiful solutions, therefore, and resolutions. Therefore, we need to also work on something as leaders to see that all these structures we are having, okay, can they be impactful in a way? Can the resolutions from these, if we are only having 2 councillors at maybe at a municipality or at the district, or 5 members of parliament in parliament, because they are also overwhelmed with other things. Yes, they are members of parliament for the young people, but they are also members of parliament and members of that very parliament where they have to also work on other issues. So can we see that the structures we have currently, the young people structures, the youth structures at the districts, at the sub-county, can we frame them in a way that they are going to be impactful, that they are going to draft something, and they will draft if they are empowered and they have got the knowledge, and they bring it up to a certain table and they say, this is what we want and this is what we have come up as a solution. Because when you are bringing solutions, you are now in this transformation process. Amazing. And that transformation process is taking us to the sustainable development we are discussing.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michael, for that. And you mentioned quite so many things, but what stands out for me was when you mentioned something to do with government. And this will frame my question to Nancy before I get back to Hafashimana. There's a young boy on TikTok who calls himself Mr. Government. I don't know if you followed him up. He calls himself Mr. Government. And this is towards alignment of how we are able to use digital or even technology-based platforms to be able to influence and advocate. Mr. Government on TikTok, what he does, he will move around Kampala, do the recordings and say, Mr. Government, this place, I don't like it. Mr. Government, this rubbish is too much here. Mr. Government, this building looks bad. And of recent, he did a video saying the other place behind, next to Mini Price, that he doesn't like it. And the executive director of KCCA said, there's a young boy on TikTok who said this place looks bad, and I can assure you we have now come to work. And they have actually worked on it. The same with where he was saying there is rubbish. They have gone to work on it. How can we as young people leverage on technology and digital activism, because we know the world is going digital, to be able to influence, to be able to transform communities?
Well, thank you very much, Trassyleen. As for technology, it's sort of like a win-lose situation. It's a double-edged sword for all of us, because however much we have a regulatory framework, we know that the Computer Misuse Act was repealed. So that means that what we first of all need is good understanding of the digital space, okay? And this will help, and this will come when we have the right people in the seats to determine, to actually tell us what is in there. So that means government must collaborate with technocrats. This is what I keep saying. People keep saying a lot of things like, oh, the sciences go here and the arts go here. That can't happen. I mean, that cannot transform the society if it is like that. We were supposed to feed into each other. So the expertise of the sciences and tech tech in specific can inform very good policies on how the digital space is supposed to run. But it can also inform how government shapes its policies and interacts with the owners of the tech companies, because they can put in protection mechanisms to combat tech-facilitated violence. When I talk about tech-facilitated violence, we're talking about trolling, things that can take people out of the tech space. Trolling, bullying. Trolling is sort of bullying on the tech space, but doxing, stalking, and all those things, there should be protection mechanisms, because the crimes that exist in the actual physical space eventually automatically migrate into the digital space. That is the first thing that we need. We need strong policies through the collaboration of technocrats with the policy makers. Number two, it is on lowering the prices of data and connectivity, but also phones. You find that a person will go abroad once and come back with a very good phone. They do not have the net worth to have that phone in Uganda, but suddenly when they go out maybe for a work trip, they can get that phone. I believe that if we are going to promote digitalization of our country, we need to actually consider those friendly prices. And at the same time, while we're talking about young people navigating the digital space, they need to navigate it to use it to earn, because we also need to feed the government taxes, okay? It's not government alone that has the responsibility to do this properly for us, because government collects taxes. The other day, I was also listening to a lady on TikTok. I follow her because she's so knowledgeable on issues of finance and all that. And she came and she said that, you know what, out of the 51 million Ugandans, only 10% pay as you earn. And I'm not talking about like the subsidies on the different items that we buy, but like only 10% of those people pay remittances or file their taxes. There are only 5.2 million registered with the URA. And of the 5.2 million, only half of them managed to pay taxes last year. And imagine, government used a whole, how many trillion? Was it 38 trillion? It collected all that money and used it to fund a budget. Imagine if the totality of the youth population were filing remittances to government. It means that we would have a whole lot more money used to actually make better our civic spaces, make better our tech spaces. But also lastly, to use the tech spaces responsibly as an individual, because if you make it difficult for somebody else to use the tech spaces, it means that it will not exist. If you abuse it too much, it could actually take out knowledgeable people that could actually transform. But also advocacy is so huge that in order for us to recognize, in order for us to connect the advocacy that happens in the civic space with maybe influencing policy, we need to be persistent with it. We need to be persistent with it, and we need to do it over and over again, but also we need to do it very respectfully.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Let me get back to Hafashimana. The National Youth Council has a structure of over 650 young people as leaders, 650,000 people as leaders with positions from the village structure up to the national structure. Young people are always crying of space. Young people are always crying of inclusion. How can we leverage on the existing structures, such as the National Youth Council, such as UNSA, such as civil societies that are youth-led, to drive transformation?
I will begin that by quoting the African mentor. Ghana got its independence much more earlier than other African countries, probably around 1956. And the founding independent Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, said that the independence of Ghana itself is meaningless unless it surrounds the entire total independent African countries. And I think I will borrow what Comrade Mpunge was talking about, that youth councils sit, but literally they do not have reserves, or even when they have them, where do they represent them? And I think that was the concern that I picked from his contestation. And this is evident and maybe for the youth leaders and others that are concerned who are watching us, when a district youth council is convening or sitting, there should be a provision that allows the 2 councillors be part of the youth council as ex-official members to sit with the rest of the youth council members, such that whatever the members of the district youth councils talk about, they take them to the local government district councils. In that case, the youth council of Entebbe Municipality is supposed to be inviting the 2 youth councillors of that municipality in their council, that they can take their resolutions to the council of the municipal, the other larger one. So in the same spirit, I think for the last 5 years, I doubt if there are any resolutions at the National Youth Council structure, national, that whenever youth council members, delegates met in Soroti, met in Kabare, met in Guru, met everywhere, that was never realized because that council was a little bit, I would say, chaotic. Whenever they would meet for councils would not take place. Whenever they would meet, they would just make demands of how much transport refund. And that's why I think sometimes I want to ask and request my council members of today to shift from that kind of managing council to having a meaningful council whereby when you meet, you address policy.
When you talk
and
about,
in that case,
when you talk about youth leaders, I am not going to mention names or even Hafashimana. You are alive to the fact that we have most of these are people who have paid heavily to be in those positions. They are looking at this as a money venture. How best do you convince us that this can actually sell? And if not, what recommendations do you think should be made to ensure that it works?
That is a very good question. You see, the topic we are addressing today is about sustainability. The 2 million or the 3 million, even if it was 5, it is not sustainable for that single year financially. Therefore, if we say somebody invested in the election, and therefore they think by getting what they put in is because they must demand for more transport refund every time the youth council is convening, it does not commensurate with what is expected of the today's youth leaders. I could assure you that the youth leaders, by the time in 1960s, they never had some of those powerful youth councils, but never stopped them from, becoming who they are today. Number 2, she talked about policy. It is on record, historically, and I think Divinity has defended it, even when science has discovered it, that there is no country on the globe that has ever transformed without the inclusion of transformed youth leaders. And I think it is the reason as to why the government labors so much, that in every program they have a provision for the youth, except in budget consultation or budget formulation. It is rare that the youth councils are either consulted on what they need or so it is a challenge right now, but it is on record, like I have said. Now, getting into the main cause of this discussion, whereas we talk about transformation, then we talk about sustainability, that demand, all those demands that people make every I-wide International Youth Day and all of that, it is not sustainable. Therefore, we must involve ourselves into, longer term economic projects. And I think last time when I was here, I had the chance to take us through a number of things that as young leaders can also take through. But also, I have also read that when somebody is poor, the other day I was corrected and I said that Uganda is very rich. Do you know why? Because the people who are in it, they have potential, they have capacity to deliver, but also make some of the robust changes in policy formulation. And I think that's also I've been trying to be clear, that if we have the youth leaders today, in fact, to be specific, the youth MPs, it is incumbent upon them to know that they were sent there by the entire youth, not just the delegates, because whatever policy they are going to make or table either as private members bill or when it is government, it is only good that all of this will come to, affect those that will come after them. But also, before I finish on that very context, I want to say that unless we realize that the world has lost the greatest people on this planet Earth, that therefore those who are us, or those of us who are here present, can champion the global change that we desire. For example, you realize that the best engineers died, the best doctors died, the best musicians died. Don't think of Chaguranyi, who has also been somehow an example of certain side of the youth biology group. But also, let me finish it. I'm saying so because These people died with the best ideas. And I think because of that, we need to, discover the potential in us, the youth people, but also discover much more to ensure that we create that kind of world that we desire. If you talk about transformation, we need to live a transformed life. If you want to talk about sustainability, economically, politically, socially, we must live at peace with each and every one, especially things that will deter us from prospering economically. And those were examples that were given in some of the books I think that some people have been able to recommend us to read and go through like that. So it is important for us to acquaint ourselves with the knowledge.
Thank you, Hafashimana. But in my perspective, I see we still have good artists who are doing well, good musicians who are inspiring. Actually, we've had so many of them come through, and these are young people on board. And as part of financial capacity and economic empowerment, I think it is an avenue that we have to as well explore. But let me get back to you, Mr. Micheal. When you talk about sustainability, you cannot leave out the conversation around politics and elections. Sure. And we are aware that we've just concluded the elections this year, having only 11 million out of over 21 million actually participate. Young people who are the majority were always on track, supporting, they had the numbers and all that. In a journey where we do have the Global Youth Participation Index putting Uganda's political engagement at 58%, but elections at 32%. What should be done to ensure that we have political, sustainable inclusion, not just for us to wait for 2029 and run back to our homes to contest in these positions?
Well, what should be done is very simple. We need to have everyone on board as regard the political participation. People usually tend to undermine the outcomes of political decisions. But if you look at it closely, you'll realize that everyone is affected by a political decision. And every decision we take ourselves and also the lives we live, it is entirely political. Therefore, personally, I'm a member of the National Working Group. We are drafting a roadmap for youthful inclusion and political participation. It is supported by the Netherlands Institute for Multi-Party Democracy, and currently we are drafting a roadmap and engaging different stakeholders. And the goal is one, to see that we increase on the political participation of young people. We are doing this by doing quite a number of activities. And it is not just about only the governance bit, but also to see that we impact the young person in all aspects, including the economic aspect, so that we talk to them and we tell them, and we did a study to understand what exactly is limiting the political participation of young people, and getting to understand for issues to do with the finances. You already mentioned it, of how people are using a lot of money to get these positions and all these. Also understanding that some people do not understand. If we had quite a number of many people, if I think 80% of the people on those campaigns were young people, if we have about 78% of the population as young people, how come it is still a very minimal population that came, or number that came to vote on the voting day? Because 11 out of 21 million, really, the gap is really huge. So could it be that there are some of these young people who are in these political activities, but not participating fully? That you are on a campaign van, you are on a campaign caravan, but unfortunately you don't go to cast your vote. So we have looked at all these things, and we have realized that as young people, as alumni of the Uganda Democracy Academy and the Netherlands Institute for Multi-Party Democracy, we need to see that we gather all our young people, regardless of their affiliation and regardless of the region where you are. We move to them and talk to them about governance and accountability. We talk to them about the need to engage in political decisions. A political decision as simple as listening to someone who has come to give themselves for leadership. A political decision as simple as getting to understand what is the role of your councillor, what is the role of your MP, what is the role of your chairperson, what is also your role as a citizen. So we are doing this for the next 5 years, and we have already started engaging different stakeholders, and we call upon everyone to see that we join hands and we talk to our people in the entire country, and we increase the youth participation. So I believe that that is one avenue, and it is the main avenue, civic engagement, to see that people understand their roles as citizens, people understand what these other structures have to offer for them and what they have to offer. Thereafter, they can be able to make an informed decision, either when they are going to the ballot to vote, and they can also make an informed decision on what exactly to do, as something as simple as littering, because you will understand that it is your duty. Okay, you will understand that it is your duty as a young person to see that we have a clean city and all that, and then you don't pin a campaign poster on a poster which shows you that this is a route going this way, it is one way, and more things like that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michael, for that. Let me get you, Nancy, and if you could use a minute or less. What is that particular point that you would pray to be made as a reform or as a policy that could ease young people's sustainability and participation in political spaces, but also in decision-making platforms?
Thank you, Trassyleen. And for that question on policy, because, you know, as a world, as Uganda, as Africa, we cannot run short of policies. You know, we have very good laws, we have very good policies, but the gap comes in terms of implementation. For example, at the international level, we have the SDGs, which translate to the African agenda, to the Africa Agenda 2063, and then again to our Vision 2040 in Uganda. All those are good policies that are inclusive, that recognize the problems that we have. However, the gap comes in terms of implementation. That is why I'll quote the Honorable Winnie Byanyima. And Honorable Winnie Byanyima says that in order for the world to actually grow, we need governments that are accountable and democratic, because democracy is the root of it's the thing that puts people together. It's the glue to all of these things. It means that they deliver on the social contract, they deliver services to the people, they respond to the needs of the people, but also that people trust them to deliver that. So as a main point in policy, for us what we work for is accountability, ensuring that there is accountability. And this can be through advocacy, through dialogues, and all of that. It can be very straining, especially with the way our civic space is in Uganda, to actually engage on that. But that's why we have youth platforms like the National Working Group, because there you can discuss strategies on the best way without being combative, or the best approach in whatever situation that comes. But at the end of the day, and as a constitutionalist and as a person who is big on equality, as a feminist, I believe that the best way for us to actually ensure that all of these things that we decry can actually be put in place is when we have democratic and accountable governments.
Hafashimana, what is that pressing thing that you think should be given key attention, and in less than a minute?
I will just echo it, because I have said it here before, that whereas it is on record that Uganda is the second fastest growing population, whereby over 75% of its population is under the age of 30 years, then that should scare us. That means the families are reproducing and reproducing day and night. For the fact Uganda will be contributing over 40% to the global population by 2035. That's on record. And that would mean that we need to have an empowered youth biology group. For example, if we have an idle, educated youth group, then the country must prepare. That would mean that the government must be able to empower its young population. After all, we say, and it is said that they are no longer leaders of tomorrow, but leaders of today. Therefore, as we have seen, usually the government listens to the other language of demonstration, which I don't think is the best way. Because from the trainings I have gotten, we have been encouraged to do the dialogue. That the other means can come as last resort in case dialogue fails. But even if dialogue fails, we must continue dialoguing. That one aside, government must put a strategy of empowering its young people financially. And I think at the National Youth Council, I had talked about having the National Youth Enterprise. For example, if we could have money that every time they are going to read the budget, like we hear there is Ministry of Finance has allocated this amount of money, billions of this money to this group. Then also let us have the Ministry of Finance through the government or by the government ask or appropriate some bit of the money to the youth. For example, regardless of the region you are coming from or even a political inclination that you are belonging to, that money can be accessed through the bank. This is not about the Capital Youth Venture Fund or the money for YLP or the PDM or what. No, this money will be there strategically to empower the younger people. For the fact, this money must be like the graduate fund they are talking about.
Yes.
So it must go beyond that. And I think beyond that, that is really inching me a lot, and I think that's why you have seen some of the members of the National Youth Council are coming up with the idea of the National Youth Council Development Circle to ensure that they are empowered, but also along with the little they get, they can be able to save it. When you save it, you invest. When you invest, the returns can increase. So by that, that is very, very important, and it is my prayer.
Thank you, and I hope that makes your parting shots.
No.
Let me get to you, Nancy. In less than a minute,
Those are not my parting shots.
Nancy, your parting shots.
Thank you very much. And this is something that I had failed to say before that. I want to say that money, giving money to young people is not the solution, but we need systems in place that can make sure that this money is not taken away from them, considering sustainability. That means we must work on taxation systems. That means that employment must be equitable. That means that young people will not be brought on board as just like laborers or farmers of the transformation.
Nancy doesn't want entandikwa. Yeah, I want entandikwa. Government is hearing.
But that young people are there as development partners of this transformation. And this one will reflect in labor laws, in things like the minimum wage, because really nobody should be able to go home with only 5,000 shillings in a day. That is not right. So I believe that transforming systems is the bedrock of sustainable development and transformation.
Thank you so much. Hafashimana, 30 seconds.
I will use them profitably. I will conclude by telling us that it is never too late to begin up something very new that is transformational, that is sustainable, but also encouraging our youth who are outside there. We are not going to be with forever. Therefore, let us create an enabling environment for every one of us to keep on thriving, to be empowered economically, socially, politically. For those who love religion, I don't discourage you, but let us focus on how we can have sustainable economic empowerment. Asanteni sana.
Thank you. Let me get to you, Michael, your parting shots in a minute.
Thank you. Sustainability is creating systems that will outlive even us and for long. And transformation starts with purpose. That we need to understand. President Museveni usually talks about whenever young people tell him, we are the youth, we are the numbers, we are the majority, that he says that we confuse biology and ideology. And I think this is at a point whether those who agree with him and those who do not agree with him have to either prove him or wrong. Because purpose starts with you equipping yourself with knowledge and making sure that you are focused and have got this, you're pursuing this. Therefore, I believe we can contribute to this transformation by equipping ourselves with the knowledge that we need in all aspects. I want to rally all young people to equip themselves with the knowledge in all ways, be professional in everything that you do, so that we are able to understand and influence policy in all aspects. There is no way we are going to influence policy, there is no way we are going to cause transformation if we are not empowered ourselves. Let us empower ourselves, let us have this knowledge, and then we shall translate it into a very powerful thing that is going to drive us, and then we walk into the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michael Mpunge, who is the youth councillor for Entebbe Municipality. Thank you so much, Nancy Caroline Ayot, who is a lawyer, a feminist, and a writer, and Girl Child is proud of you. Thank you so much, Hafashimana Asiimwe, who is the chairperson of Kisoro District under the National Youth Council. And of course, on today's episode, we discuss what is the role of youth. Are they ambassadors of transformation and economic change, but also sustainable development? And Youth of Purpose continues to bring you such discussions. And take home today is that we must ensure that we have systems that are working. Wherever you are, advocate for change. Wherever you are, do something about it. It can be as small as even talking to these people, as Michael had highlighted. But also opportunities like working groups, opportunities like young people's civic engagement and dialogue is very fundamental in ensuring that sustainability is actually meaningful sustainability and is inclusive of young people, even on decision-making tables. And of course, Trassyleen Ankunda hosting this conversation. We are getting into Easter. We want to wish you a very, very, very amazing Easter. We want to say that we hope that Jesus coming back, or even getting into this period, we use it as a time to reflect, to transform, but also to see how best we get together, or even better as a society. We cannot fail to thank the team on the production that always makes this possible, Rina, Afizo, and everyone. Sharina, I want to say thank you so much for always making the pictures get to the light. And of course, we want to say thank you. See you next time, same place. Trassyleen Ankunda.
Youth of Purpose. Youth of Purpose. Youth of Purpose. Youth of Purpose.